New music today. It's crazy, 30 years later, putting out another fucking album, bro.
Yeah, and then she was
I
sick.
know Steph Tone can relate because we're in the same fucking boat.
Yep.
It's a trip because I think, like when groups like ours started, we don't think about 30 years down the line. We're thinking about tomorrow and sometimes today.
Yeah, for real.
And too much we think about the past. But I think that sort of fucking fires us up to like what was in the past that we did not like, that was the hard shit. We don't ever want to live that shit again. So it's all about pushing forward.
And as you say that, we're both living the future and the past right now.
You fucking right.
For real.
But it's a trip. I don't think any artist starts off like, I'm gonna be around here, I'm gonna be around this long, or you're just thinking about doing the music at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I tell people that about the records too. Every time we release a record, it's really just a snapshot in time of where we were at then. So whenever asked, people talk about this being their favorite, or, what do you think about that record? Like, well, I think about that time.
Yeah.
Even as a listener, it's the same thing. Like, because when we hear your songs, we relate to an era in our life.
Yeah.
The second I hear a song,
I hear it all the time from people, all the comments and on the playthroughs I do, people talk about how it reminded them of whatever during that time. And yeah, it just, they're snapshots in time.
Absolutely. It's trip because people ask, you have the hardcore fan base that's always like, oh man, why don't you do an album like Black Sunday or or like the first album or Temples of Boom? And it's like, as an artist, you're in a mode in the time that you're working on this particular piece. You might not be, where you were at in your mindset, you might not be there anymore. You're still that same person, and is a part of your skill set and your tools, but you ain't there no more. So it's like, how can I replicate something I did 20 fucking years ago? Yeah, I could go in and see all the rhyme cadences and the schemes and the concepts and topics we were talking about. But really, if I were to do that, I'm just regurgitating the shit we did 20 years ago. And as an artist, you always want to just evolve and do you right now. And if you're not doing you right now and you're doing what everybody else is doing, people read through that shit in a heartbeat, and then you're done. And then it doesn't even matter that you did it, because motherfuckers will be like, man, this shit sounds like fucking every other artist out there.
Word.
Man. And that's the great thing about the Deftones. And obviously Cypress Hill with Bobo and I and the guys, is that we don't lean on our previous albums or sound to make the new shit.
That's the last thing I want to do.
The last thing.
It's crazy because doing like the press for this new album, they're really like saying, okay, 30 years you've been doing this. What were you thinking? I'm like, man, that shit is a blur. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not thinking about that.
Thinking,
we were doing. We were just doing, and the thing is, like, to go back and listen to those records, you can't change anything. Even if you say, oh, you know what, I could have done that better. Well,
that's right.
You can't, because it's been done.
Yeah.
So
you could think about a million things you would have done or could have done, but guess what? You didn't think about it at that fucking time. You know what I mean? Like, so that opportunity is gone. The only thing you could do that is if you go and re-record it, and the things that you picked up along the way, if you want to add to it. Like, so for instance, Hand on the Pump, right? The shit that we do live at Hand on the Pump, like in the in-between space, right? Because there's the verse, the chorus, and then there's spaces within the chorus.
Right.
Right? Sawed off shotgun, hand on the pump, left hand on the 40, puffing on the blunt, blah, 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 la, 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 right? And then it goes to that little bridge, before the next shit.
Right.
And we, like doing the live show, in that piece, it was always blank. You either got to fuck with the crowd,
right,
or you do something there that like makes sense to the song. So we could never think of anything in that part that would like fucking uplift the song in terms of like crowd participation. So we took a piece from Shoot 'Em Up, the song Shoot 'Em Up.
I hear it.
Right?
It's great.
And we put the chorus of Shoot 'Em Up in that fucking break part. And that happened spontaneous. We were doing a show somewhere years.
I just
ago.
heard on the last tour.
Yeah, years ago, like I'm gonna say over 18 years ago, we did a show somewhere, and I always felt like, fuck, this spot is always blanked out. Let me think of something. And in that moment when we were doing the show, Shoot 'Em Up came to me, and Sendog, because he's one of the greatest hype men in the world and one of a dope ass rapper that he don't get enough flowers on. He heard me doing that, so he doubled up. And then fucking Bobo, to his credit, he did the part that Sendog normally does on the record, which is the Sendog Psycho Beta part. So if Sendog's doubling with me, shoot 'em up, just shoot 'em up, yo,
Bang.
yeah. Shoot 'em up, just shoot 'em up. Bobo will be shoot 'em up. And that shit fucking became a piece in our show. Now, had we thought of that when we originally fucking did the song, maybe the song Shoot 'Em Up doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Because that break is in there. Who knows? But I'm saying, like, you come up with these ideas much later after you record them, but they're done. Right. You can't go put it on the fucking original album. You would have to go do one of them remaster records and then add these pieces that you may have came up with later.
But you might have thought would be dope, but really end up just ruining it because people already got it.
Right.
Exactly. And you're gonna get shit for it. Oh yeah, we just wanted to improve and do something different. Says, nah, man, just like keep it the same. So it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, man.
Yeah, I think leaving it as is, right, in its original recording, the way that people loved it to begin with, that's the deal, right? And when they come to the live show, they get the different layers, the nuances that you don't fucking hear on the album. Like, for instance, Bobo. That's always a fucking bonus when people fucking come to the show and they hear the song, chances are they're listening to the song before they even go to the fucking show, pumping themselves up. You come to the show and you hear Bobo on top of these joints that you've heard for so many years, and it's an extra layer, and Bobo adds that shit to it. And then the extra little vocal things that we add to it. It's always spontaneous, but this is the interesting part, right? Because hip hop doesn't do this like other genres of music, like with rock and metal and all that shit, right? Sometimes before, a metal band or a rock band or even R&B band, any kind of band, before they actually record the song, they'll rehearse it for hours and hours and hours upon end until they get the right arrangement, until everybody's playing it right. Then they might go play it live. And they might catch something new in that live performance of it. Like, so they're playing to let's just say their fans a song they don't know. Right, so it's basically testing the water. Is this song going to catch a vibe or not? Right, and you might come up with something in that moment to try to pump up the crowd that actually fucking adds to the song that you didn't have when you originally wrote it. You know what I mean? So you're not necessarily married to one way, and something might happen in that test run where you don't get that if you just, okay, we came up with this song, we've practiced it, rehearsed it, now let's go record it.
What about Pigs? Was the last thing, how you been flipping Pigs? I mean, that was dope.
Yeah,
you guys added 2-3 different versions on the last tour.
Yeah, hip hop groups don't do that. You get what you get when you record it, and that's it. Unless, you might go in there and tweak fucking something, but we rarely get the songs and then go perform them live to see if it's the temperature check on this shit. And then come back and say, okay, this song works, this song works. It's all a gamble for us. You know what I mean? And it would be cool if more of us did that. We did something similar to that, and we were performing Temple of Boom before anyone heard it.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't even out there. And we knew this album was going to be good because they were reacting to it without knowing one fucking word.
Yeah.
But in that time, we could have come up with things if we wanted to add to the album. Because of that live element, you fill in blanks or something that might come out of it, and that's the thing, man. With other bands, they can do shit like that. They don't necessarily have to record it first. They can always go test the water out live and then be like, "Oh, this shit works." And while we were doing this, I came up with a new idea to put on top of it. So that's the cool shit about, the other genres of music that they do that.
Yeah.
Did y'all do that early on?
Yeah, I mean, we basically, but I mean, what I was gonna say was you even though you're in hip hop, you guys act in the manner that a band acts like. Plus, you have bands, you've been in bands, so
Right.
you have band experience. It's a whole different thing in the way I perceive it to be.
Yeah, it is a whole different get down, man. Being in a group as opposed to being in a band. With hip hop, it's not called a band; it's called a group, but it's essentially a band.
Yeah.
Just they're not playing anything. It's like the Temptations, right? None of them played instruments, so they were known as a group as opposed to a band. And those are the fucking the distinctions between a group and a band.
Right.
Like New Edition, they were a group, not a band.
True.
In the Roots, they're not a group.
They're a band.
They're a band. They're hip hop. They're a hip hop band, but they're a band. They're not a fucking group.
You gotta have at least more than one instrument.
With us, we classify as both because, like Steph Tone said, we brought the
Percussion.
band element to it when we started playing live instruments on the fucking stage, and we were a hip hop group before that, so we're a hybrid of that. But usually you're one or the other, and but when you're the band, like you could test shit out, like songs you're not sure about. Let's throw this in the set and let's see if it gets a reaction.
And like you said, without hearing it before.
Without hearing,
If they don't know the words, but it instantly
yeah.
hits them.
Bobo could tell you. I mean, like on Smoking Grooves, on maybe it was the second or the last one. I can't remember which one.
I think it was like the second one.
The second one. We were using like Let It Rain as our intro song, right? And no one knew this song. I mean, it wasn't going to be a single. It was just one of our doper album, like what we felt was one of the dopest songs on the album. So we're fuck it. They don't know it. We're going to come in with it. And sure enough, that fucking bass line would come in. Doo, 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 and then the crack. Bah! And then the beat goes. Man, these motherfuckers were going nuts to it. I could not believe what I was seeing to some shit they didn't even know.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah, and it was we knew that at least that song from that album was going to catch fire. But it wasn't going to be a single. It was too aggressive. And then we played Make a Move on that. We played a number of those songs.
We played a number of songs from that record that I still to this day, I have not seen a hip hop group or band like try out shit like before the album was even really completed. You know what I mean? And we were doing that.
We were doing that.
I never heard nobody do it.
We got, hey, we were blessed. God is good. You know what I'm saying? Because truthfully, man, that we could have fell flat on our ass with playing songs that no one knew. I mean, because in hip hop, you just don't do that unless, you're coming out and it's all promo. Right. You might be opening for someone. They don't know who the fuck you are. But when you're a well-known band at that point, you take a chance by playing music that no one knows.
Yeah, the sequence also, the sequence of the live show, like, adding in new stuff with the classics, that was an important thing too, because you can't have too many new songs in a row.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna lose them.
Yeah, you got to sprinkle it.
So you got to sprinkle it and make sure that shit is like on, and popping.
What the fuck was that noise?
That was me.
How rude.
Yeah, I know, but I'm eating a Pop-Tart too, so.
Oh, and he doesn't even send any down there.
No, you wouldn't like these. They have sprinkles.
Oh, fuck no. Yeah, no, we don't want those.